There's this thing, don't mute. Yes, hi, there you are.
Madam Mayor, it is 4:10 and we are live.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the May 11th, 2021 workshop to order and ask the clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Betty Resch,
Here.
Vice Mayor Herman Robinson.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Malika,
Present.
Commissioner Christopher McBoy,
Also present.
Commissioner Kim Stokes.
Here.
Thank you.
So today we have item A, which is our only item, a discussion regarding the Gulfstream Hotel. And I'm going to turn to the city manager.
Madam Mayor, the Pledge of Allegiance was.
I forgot.
Skip, so.
Oh, I thought we were
Mr. Robinson jumping up.
we had Mr. Robinson scheduled for 6 o'clock, but since he's so eager.
Yes, we only had the pledge on the 6 o'clock meeting. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We can pledge. We can pledge. No, he'll get to do it twice.
He's eager to do it.
This pledge
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't you?
Much better.
Good job.
Now I feel right.
How we feel.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Madam Mayor, Commissioners, good afternoon. Welcome to another workshop. Imagine that. Today, this section, we're going to be having a conversation and some follow-up discussion regarding the Gulfstream Hotel project. I'd like to introduce in the audience today, we have Amy and Amaret Gill with Restoration St. Louis. Also with Restoration St. Louis team, we have Laura Rebbe, their legal counsel. I guess that's your consulary legal counsel.
Really the title is Senior VP of.
Okay, I apologize.
Well, that's very important.
It's fair enough.
Okay, senior, the other titles more.
And what is your name actually? Laura. Hi. Ready?
Rebbe.
I'm gonna take this down so you can hear me.
Okay.
Maybe.
Thank
His
you.
employee. Yeah.
Thanks.
So that's the team from Restoration St. Louis. Also in the audience, we have Jonah Leva, the executive director for the CRA, as well as Brendan Lynch, our chair, and our counsel, Christy Gaudeau. And on TV screen, you'll soon be seeing Mr. William Waters from Community Sustainability. But by way of introduction, as you know, we've been working for some time as a city to try to figure out how we can see the beautiful and wonderful historic Gulfstream Hotel come to functional, wonderful glory to represent the city of Lake Worth Beach. And it's been a long held dream of a lot of people. We finally come to a point where we're having some final discussions and input that we'd like to work with Restoration St. Louis in order to facilitate this project really getting underway. Remind everyone that we've been through all kinds of issues with this project, including COVID, like everything else that's stymied the progress. So here we find ourselves today having a follow-up conversation on the heels of the one-on-one meetings that you all participated in. Some of you for the first time actually meeting Amy and Amaret and getting a chance to bounce some ideas and concerns. Today is a follow-up to that. And based on what was said during those meetings, William, Juan, and I got back with them at the end of last week and went over basically those different topics. So what we intend to do today is to kind of walk through some of the details of what we are trying to get to a point of making some formalized agreement by the 25th of this month so that we can go to the next levels of commitments on both sides and they can feel comfortable in moving forward to bring this project to bear, as well as from the city understanding really clearly what it is that the city would be committing to in the way of abatements, rebates, or outright capital allocations, appropriations towards infrastructure in the areas that you control around this project. So all those things are on the table here today to have a conversation and to get that level of understanding and appreciation. So what I would like to do is before we get into it, and I don't know if y'all want to have a brief introduction before we go to William to talk about the details, but is there anything that y'all wanted to say before we get down to that level of conversation?
Other than we just appreciate being here and being able to talk to you guys and, walk through the project, make sure that everybody's happy and, we can move forward.
There you go. So William Waters is with us via the mysteries of the ether and television. William, are you there?
Couldn't you just come here?
Light out of my face.
There he is. Okay. So he's going to walk us through what we have taken from the letter of understanding items and put into 3 separate pots, which you'll see on 3 different spreadsheets. And William, if you'll be so kind as to walk us through this, and then we can answer any questions as we go before we go to the next point of conversation.
Yeah, it's if Keith or someone could bring up the presentation that was prepared and sent over.
Okay, well, they have it in front of them in written form.
Yeah, we have it.
Okay, well, I think for the general public, William Waters, Community Sustainability Director, I will try to find that and share it. I think the last one came to me.
Forward it to him.
There we go.
And it's going to be hard to see because it's a lot of little boxes, but for folks out there, there's copies available at City Hall.
And they did put it online, Madam Mayor.
So, as Michael mentioned, the various items that were in the LOI are enumerated here under 3 different categories. The first is the incentive ones, and now I can't read it. Sorry. So the city ones are actually adopted as part of our code of ordinances within our economic incentives package program or other avenues that are codified by code and have been given to other projects in the past or in the present. The entitlement process, there's a request just to help and coordinate that in an expeditious fashion. Many of you may not know that the project will come in as an urban planned mixed-use development. It will go to the Historic Resource Preservation Board after being reviewed by the site plan review team, which includes representatives of all departments at the city. Once it comes out of the Historic Resource Preservation Board with the recommendation, it will come to the City Commission for the reading of an ordinance to establish the urban mixed-use plan development, and there'll be 2 public hearings for that. That process normally takes around 120 days from the time we have a complete application until it's heard by the City Commission. And there is a desire to have it hold as tight as it can to that 120-day schedule. Under investment incentives, we have an economic investment incentive program that is based on the projected new revenues to the electric, water, sewer, and stormwater utility funds from a new project. It's estimated that this incentive will be worth about 55 to 60 cents per air-conditioned square foot of the project. As an example, the mid apartment complex received $167,000 under this program. The Bohemian is around the neighborhood of 120. Since we don't have a final design for the proposed renovation and new addition to the side, I'm estimating that the incentive is going to be around $250,000. There is a performance bond that must be posted. It does not reduce the overall revenue stream to the city after the 3rd year. If the project does not perform as anticipated, that performance bond or letter of credit will make up the difference of the revenue stream the city was expecting to get prior to the incentive being put in place. We also have economic infrastructure incentives, and those are derived from adopted 5-year capital improvement plan projects that have already been identified. Their funding may not have been allocated, but they're in the plan that could benefit a project. And if the time frame does not work for that project, the developer can put those improvements in place on behalf of the city, and then we'll pay back the developer for having done those on behalf of the city. Both the mid and the Bohemian received infrastructure incentives. The mid encompassed electrical work, undergrounding, some transformer pads. There were some improvements made to the roadway on 17th Avenue and some water sewer improvements. The total of that was right around $1 million. Those projects were already identified in the 5-year plan, And then with the Bohemian, it's, I think, $300,000 of capital infrastructure incentive, again, based on projects that have been identified and included in the CIP. On number H, that section, the city's already reduced its building permit fees twice. We did it again for FY21. So we have addressed a concern that the building permit fee would be rather large. We also have a de-escalating scale that you pay less per $1,000 of value the greater the project gets. So we've already adopted a building fee option. I cannot estimate what the difference would be, but it's about 0.5% of what it would have been compared to if the building permit came in last year. The 10-year tax abatement is for the historic portion of the project. I believe you've already heard one 10-year tax abatement since you've been sitting at the dais. You'll be getting other ones. We have them on a routine basis with single-family homes in one of the city's 6 historic districts. This is a 10-year abatement on the increased building value of restoring an historic property. It abates both the ad valorem of the city and the county, but it does not reduce the overall tax stream from the project before the restoration and does not affect the land value. We also have the transfer development right program that allows for 10 additional units per acre or a 10% increase in floor area ratio. There have been incentives incorporated with that. The Bohemian requested and received a waiver of the cost of the transfer development rights. There's a request in this case to waive the overall cost of those transfer development rights for the Gulfstream Hotel. The actual number is based on $10 per square foot covered under the program. Once we have a finalized project, I can give you a definitive idea of what that number will be. But in rough numbers at this point, it's around $300,000 that would be waived. The sustainable bonus program, which you all recently have changed, but under the old rules where it was $5 for the initial basis and then $10 for the additional basis above that, this project would meet all the requirements of the Sustainable Bonus Incentive Program by incorporating an historic preservation component and a certification under Florida Green Building Standards. And a couple of other items that they've mentioned would be applicable to the program, such as a public plaza, public art, availability of items for the public use. And so that incentive really has taken care of itself by the inclusion of the items in the project as it has been envisioned. If we'll go to the next slide.
Before we go to the next slide, Madam Mayor,
Yeah.
since this is in sort of chunks,
Right.
this may be a good point to see if there's any questions.
I was going to suggest that.
And before you do that too, if it, just a point of privilege, I forgot to introduce as the assistant city manager, who's been a key player in all this. And I had a tater tot moment there. I'm still.
I think you said his name, but that's okay.
Yeah, he's available for questions as well.
Okay. And I'm going to just, we have had the opportunity when we met with individually with them to ask certain questions. I'm hoping that some questions may have gotten answered. I'm hoping that our questions tonight are succinct and deal directly with, what we're talking about here. I see Commissioner McVoy's light is on, so I'm going to ask Commissioner McVoy to succinctly ask a question that he's not had asked and answered before.
That's correct. Under I, the mention is of a 10-year tax abatement on the historic portion of the project. Under A, it refers to the existing recorded unity of title. I assume the unity of title refers to basically the whole block, the historic building plus the rest of it. So a question that occurred to me at one point is, if it's one unit, one parcel, how do you split the tax that there's an abatement on the historic portion, but not on the rest if it's a single
Because it's platted.
parcel?
It's still platted differently.
Good question.
If it's unity of title, it's not platted differently. My understanding.
No, go ahead and respond. Go ahead.
We will coordinate that with the property appraiser's office. There will be an evaluation established for the historic building and then a commensurate value for its new value once it's restored As the project's designed, even though it will be under unity of title because the projects are actually attached, it will be under the building permit avenue able to determine what the value is of the new construction and what the value is of the improvements to the historic building.
Can I add something?
The only portion that will be frozen at this time is the increased value of the building that is historic between what its value is at the threshold establishment and then what the new value is after the renovation is done.
William, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that even with the unity of title, the original, what do we call it? The numbers, the
Parcel.
yeah, thank you. Parcel control numbers remain the same. There would still be two parcel control numbers, but there's a unity of title between the two of them.
Well, we could do it one of two ways. We could do a, leave the parcel that has the hotel on it as a single parcel. There is a parcel where the abandonment of the alley was, and if we left it that way, half of that alley abandonment would go to the parcel where the hotel is, and half of it would go to the vacant parcels to the west. Under the previous approved project for Hudson Holdings, there was a requirement to do unity of title among all 7 parcels, inclusive of the alley. It could be done separately. We have one example where we did do a project like that, so it would not be impossible to do it again, where
So
the west side could be left separate from the east side.
It would be easily identifiable, I think is the point. To be able to tell which parcel is the old one.
Commissioner, and
Sure.
William, correct me if I'm wrong, but, okay, I'm gonna take this down.
Yeah, go ahead.
My understanding is that the unity of title requirement is fundamentally dealing with zoning and saying when you develop these properties, you develop it as one project. Not literally that it becomes one parcel for tax purposes,
Well, no.
but they get developed together. And all we were requesting here was that the old one for Hudson go away because it has a different legal description. And the city can put a new one, not a problem. We wanted to clean up the record title for our lenders so it wasn't confusing about what properties. And that's all this refers to.
Thank you. Anyone, any other questions? Commissioner? No? Okay, moving right along.
Are we going to slide number 2 now? Okay. Under negotiated items, these are items that would be a collaboration between the developer, property owner, and the city of Lake Worth Beach. The first is to study the two-way traffic pattern along South Lakeside Drive to see whether that works to the best capacity and efficiency for both the project and the residents who are there. There's already been discussions since this was repaired to possibly maintain the one-way traffic to allow additional parking to stay on South Lakeside Drive. The valet lane on Lake Avenue would be a coordination among the 3 of us with the Florida Department of Transportation to allow a lane to be dedicated in front of the hotel where valet drop-offs and pickups could take place. Parking options. There are a variety of those that fall under this. Parking options not only for the hotel itself and the parking requirements that are there, but how will we handle parking when the construction commences? Where will the construction crews and staging take place? How will we address parking in the general vicinity of the residential areas that are already there and the parking that's adjacent to Bryant Park? So there are a number of options that have been floated around. They'll need further investigation and study to see which ones make financial sense, which ones make design sense. But our goal is to facilitate not making the parking situation in the general area any worse than it is and hopefully improve it greatly, especially for the condominium owners that are in that general vicinity that don't have dedicated parking at this time. Streetscape improvements includes doing some improvements along Lake Avenue to help address it meeting the major thoroughfare design guidelines. That might include sidewalk patterning, crosswalks with decorative bricks, streetscape furniture, changing out the landscaping, improving the landscaping, It could be a number of items along Lake Avenue, and it might extend around the side and down both Lakeside Drive and Gulfview, depending on what improvements are proposed for those two streets. The golf course package is fairly simple. It would be a package negotiated between the new hotel and our current golf course to allow their visitors and guests to utilize the golf course in an expeditious and financially easy to track mechanism. There are a number of golf packages that already exist, and it should not be difficult to come up with one that will be both to the terms of the city as well as the new hotel operator. Bryant Park improvements is rather open-ended. There have been discussions since I've been with the city about the need to do some improvements in Bryant Park of one way or another. Changing out the parking and improving the parking in Bryant Park will facilitate part of that. There may be other items that will come out and be identified over the course of the project moving forward. Many of them might deal with with safety issues and better lighting and having the Bryant Park look a little refreshed and a little cleaner than it looks right now. Public beach amenities, we'll probably circle back to this, but the Gulfstream hotel guests would like to be able to have an experience that is seamless with the experience they have at the hotel. So collaborating with our current beach concessionaire or providing an additional part of the concession to facilitate the provision of towels and chairs, umbrellas, cabanas is the desirous of the hotel developer so that they can include that as a package to their hotel guests when they come to visit and stay at the Gulfstream Hotel. Utility relocations. As we discussed a little bit earlier, the alley has been partially vacated. There are electric lines above ground in the alley. The electric utility is looking at relocating them and putting them underground. And there's also water sewer lines in that alley as well. I believe we've come up with a solution that will allow the water sewer lines to stay in the alley, and the new construction will be built over them, but allowing access to them. There's another option of rerouting the water sewer lines down the new access road that would come off Gulfview into the alley. And so part of the utilities will stay in the alley and part of the utilities will come out of the alley that's been vacated. That's probably going to be a cost and efficiency decision that will come up later, which one is the best, will best service the hotel and also the existing users on those lines. Oftentimes the city is asked to write a letter or sign forms in support of federal grants or affordable housing credits or other things that are funded through HUD, the Housing and Urban Development Department. And this is a request that if they were to move forward with a $5 million grant or a $6 million grant, I think it's actually the new number, that we would support their making that application. It's no money out of the city's pocket, and there's no administrative costs to it, and it does not reduce the overall CDBG money coming into the city. This is a separate independent grant allocation. So that should be fairly easy to do. The street closure during construction, as you already have experienced, the Bohemian has East Coast Street partially closed to facilitate its construction. This is a method of transportation collaboration among the developer, the contractor, whoever that might be, and public services, as well as PBSO and fire, to come up with the best plan that facilitates the ease of traffic around the site while it's under construction, and also to facilitate needs that may arise out of life safety issues. So we've committed or proposed to commit here to work in a collaborative way on when those street closures will take place, how they'll take place, and also communicating to the public how they'll happen so they'll be able to prepare themselves and not be overly negatively impacted.
So Madam Mayor, out of this list of items, there are two in particular that we will kind of want to pull out and make sure we've had conversation about those. The first one under J, under streetscape improvements. We talked individually about a $1 million capital improvement appropriation towards the streetscape infrastructure improvements surrounding the block, and including redo of the Gulfview parking area directly to the east.
And going south, I mean, because we have, there's the one right in front of the site,
Right.
and then there's the big, like that sort of open space parking. We talk about that as well, or just the one right in front of the hotel?
Just the one that's directly east.
Okay.
There are conversations and designs and discussions happening among staff and looking to redo all the parking up and down Gulfview, including north of Lucerne, in between Lucerne and Lake,
Right.
south of this into Bryant Park. But for purposes of this commitment, if you will, this is specifically adjoining the block where the hotel project is, and it's of an amount we identified in undesignated funds that are currently in the capital improvement program fund that could be committed towards these improvements on the city's rights of ways, sidewalks, curbing surrounding the project.
I had a question, and we're going to talk about the beach, but do we have an agreement with the company now at the beach to rent chairs and umbrellas and things like that? And I'm wondering if the hotel could just expand that concession somehow, work together with that.
And Madam Mayor, to the second one, the public beach amenities conversation, that falls in that category. There has been conversation. I don't know if Juan Ruiz wants to come up and talk about what he's found out from them, but also there was a conversation earlier today with the Guilds about how that would work potentially, as well as some of the concerns that they had about some guarantees if something were to go awry with the contract between the city and the supplier Oceanside.
Right.
So Juan, do you want to?
And I see Commissioner, I was going to call on Commissioner.
Before we move on to the beach, I was hoping just to get some clarification. So for item F, all the stuff that's going to be happening on Lake Avenue, we're going to help support them and assist with the coordination, but dollar-wise, we're not limiting anything to any spending for the valet lane or any of the actual construction or any of those things that would be happening on Lake Avenue. Is that coming out of our pocket?
The way I understand this particular item is that we're going to first assist them with the FDOT permitting of an ability for them to pull off and do valet services along the hotel. It's not clear at this point whether or not that's part of the $1 million redo of the sidewalk and public area. And that's something we need to get to that level of detail or make a commitment, but it could be included in the $1 million is the way we've understood it. But
I have no idea about the amount of the scope of work that's required. So when we say we're going to assist with the $5 million HUD grant, it also says that would help with the parking structure, streetscape, sidewalk, and public infrastructure. If that were to be awarded, would we still need to chip in the full $1 million on our end, or are we would we get any kind of alleviation from that if that goes through, or is it seen as it's a bonus? It's like a $5, $6, $7, $8 million affair. So even with that $5 million or $1 million, it might not be enough.
And Madam Mayor, from our understanding in the conversations we've had, the $1 million commitment for the appropriation is the city's commitment to spend $1 million in that area. The $5 million, I'll let Amber and Amy talk about that, but that's a grant that may or may not happen.
Right.
But we'd still be in for the $1 million.
The commitment will be there. So, but if you want to respond.
Yeah, it's actually, we've asked the county for a $6 million HUD grant that we've been working with them on. It's not really for sidewalks, it's more for, it can go towards a screening that's put over the garage, for example. Things like that, green roofs. It can go for a lot of different things, but it doesn't really go to the public right away.
Okay, because it looks like we've had our streetscape improvements, and then here it talks about the sidewalk and
We can
public.
use better wording on it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, those were my two main questions.
To the beach question, Juan's available if you want to dive into that next, unless you have more questions.
I was, on item K, it talks about condominium owners, but that's actually should be apartment dwellers. Okay. Juan?
This was drafted, this was signed last year.
Yes, we're aware of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Commissioners. I can answer. That was a good summary. As far as our existing vendor with Ocean Beach Side Services can provide, we'll call it the concierge cabana service.
and is willing to sit down and have a conversation with the city and the Gulfstream Hotel CDS Holdings to work through that. So initially there was a thought of providing a cabana space there. And since then, with the solution of having Oceanside, looks like we'll be able to negotiate an entire different arrangement that can still provide the same level of service.
And with the question of what happens if Oceanside, if that contract goes south, we could certainly put in our contract with the Gills that should that happen, we go to, there will be, we don't know what this plan B will be, but there will be a plan B.
We just have to have some kind of a backup plan so that we can always service our guests and provide the level of service that would be expected.
Sure, that's understood. But if Oceanside goes away, we just need to assure that you have a way to still do that
Right.
without going into the details about how that would manifest
Well, I
itself.
have a little bit of a concern about negotiating with them, knowing that we don't have any backup, that we have to negotiate with them.
Right, sure.
And
Okay, that makes
to the
sense.
Point where we would probably lose the flag if their cost is too high, because we would be absorbing it within the room rate. And if their cost is too high, we may have to go to a lesser flag.
Okay, Commissioner,
We don't necessarily want.
But Juan has assured us that he will help us negotiate.
I'll hand out that.
well, if Juan says it, I guess it's true.
He has ways.
He has the power.
We have ways of doing that. Commissioner Maliga?
I actually have a couple questions. So this is great. Thank you, William and team, for putting this together. My question is that in our letter of intent, item D was not addressed. And that is actually was my biggest question, is to develop a formal stipulated agreement to be presented to the city's code compliance special magistrate that outlines the schedule for code compliance in exchange for the reduction or elimination of existing code compliance items. I don't see that in this little spreadsheet breakdown.
Madam Mayor, if I could, Commissioner Maliga, that was resolved,
Right.
was it the end of last year? I'm trying to remember. They went to the
Earlier this
special
year.
magistrate and that was addressed. It was basically taken away as an
Okay.
issue. So
So even though we didn't put it in black and white, it's not.
It's already done.
It's
it's already done.
Okay. My next question is, for the $1 million in the initial parking, is that going to be section 3 on this map or phase 3 or?
Madam Mayor, if I may. Yes, Commissioner Maliga, to be specific, we refer to as phase 3, zone 3,
Okay.
which is the area that abuts directly east of the hotel block.
Even though district 1's, phase 1's here, we're going to start phase 3 and then work around it.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Keep things interesting.
Sorry.
No, that's 3, 2, 1. Any other questions? Okay.
So we're good. So the last page on the items that were contained in the LOU. are the partnership agreements. William, if you want to run through those real quick, and then I got a couple more things and we'll finish up.
If we could bring back the PowerPoint presentation for the item called partnerships and other agencies. Fortunately, you have Ms. Oliva there who can explain if you need more clarification, the first 3. The CRA does have the ability to provide a 10-year tax increment financing for a project, which has been requested of this. This will be applicable to the new construction of the project, not the historic portion. They also have a couple of incentive programs that are first come, first serve for a renovation incentive and an infrastructure incentive. And there are caps as to how much that can be. I don't recall the actual numbers, but if Ms. Oliva would like to, if you'd like to know those actual numbers, they're nice, but they're not gigantic numbers. The impact fee abatement and reduction, that would be another support item where we would work with the developer and contractor to help make the abatement as aggressive as possible on the impact fees. There are quite a number of options for reducing the impact fee based on the existing building, existing hotel, and the number of hotel rooms that are there, and several of the buildings that have existed at the site over time that could reduce the overall impact abatement of the impact fee being requested by the county. This is not the city's water sewer capacity charges, because those are those back bonds. And if Brian's on the call if you have questions about it, but I don't believe we can really negotiate much when it comes to the impact fees related to water sewer capacity charges. Again, the P2B would be supporting them in trying to get some rebate or a relief from the hotel sales tax of the county. Any kind of incentive that could be provided by the tourism program of the county, they would like our support on that. And then there may be other incentives that are at the state and federal level, grant level, or development loan level, where they would like our support, again, in the form of a letter or a resolution or this agreement. Once you are able to arrive at a mutually satisfying decision, that agreement itself could serve to support their looking at other development incentives or other funding mechanisms that may support this fairly significant economic development project for the city. So that's the array of things that are on the list, except for the ones that have already been resolved. And if you want more clarification on those, we will do our best to provide that.
Additionally, Madam Mayor, the conversations that Hills have had with the county commission about the potential for some of the ARPA designated,
Right.
which is yet to be determined if there's monies there and what categories it can be spent on. But that's conversations you've had with, I know, our representatives from this area, Mac Bernard,
Correct.
Dave Kerner as well. I called their offices as well to try to find out.
Because hospitality is potentially part of the ARVID money, ARVID, whatever money, COVID money. Thank you. Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you. The topic here is partnerships, and which goes to the number of partners that are going to be involved, and from the federal down to the county and the state and everybody, including your partner owner, previous owner, your partner. There is so much partnership involved here that the community is overwhelmingly supportive of getting the hotel done and finished and open and a success. The devil's in the details. This is really the simplistic, short approach to let's get this done. I look forward to it. I am a little concerned about the answer on the CRA division of tax collection. I guess that'll be worked out with the appraiser and all of that. The HR, I just wanted to say to the public that the HRPB is now the zoning department for this project. It won't be planning and zoning. It'll be historic preservation.
Totally? On all aspects?
Well, let me correct that. And in our city, under the LDRs, any activity that happens in a historic district stays before the Historic Resource Preservation Board. And then if it's not in a historic district, it stays before the Planning and Zoning Board. Because this is going to be coming in as an urban mixed-use plan development, the Historic Resource Preservation Board will be providing a recommendation to the City Commission on an approval with conditions or whatever avenue it may take for your consideration at the ordinance that I mentioned at the beginning. They will not have the final say or a complete say on anything with regard to this project.
Well, but it won't include planning and zoning.
It will not include the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay,
That was,
I was unaware. Okay.
I thank you for making that clear. My question wasn't clear. The measurement in terms of people, if God forbid this doesn't turn out exactly as everybody's hoping, the comments that I get are the return on investment to the city. We cannot measure the perception that this is going to make in its success. So, you know, the value of this moving forward, it can't be measured in dollars and cents. The perception is a huge part of our cooperation and our partnership. So,
May I make one comment?
sure.
Just to the return on investment issue. So under P1A, the 10-year tip on new construction, The TIF returns us 9.76 mils out of a total of 27 mils. So over the course of the next 10 years, this project will be, the first 10 years of the project being open, actually the first 8 years, this project will be paying a little over $500,000. These are according to the CRA numbers. $500,000 of the city's debt and $2.6 million into the public school system. So there is an immediate return simply on that alone.
I want to emphasize the value of the perception of this project moving forward. It really isn't about dollars and cents. It's the community, but I appreciate, dollars and cents too, but the support that the community has emphasized with its height change emphasizes, because we don't do that too often. And it just emphasizes the importance of this project moving forward. So, and I'm glad I would like to, if you'll bear with me, just two more comments about the value of our oceanfront park. And I would like your company to understand that we recognize the value in that oceanfront park, and that I'm hoping we have a consensus that we're still going to commit $6 million to the improvement of what you can benefit from for your guests to have the oceanfront experience. So I hope we can agree that we're going to continue that commitment to the oceanfront park to further encourage the investment that they're making. I guess I would like a consensus as part of our conversation today.
Are we allowed to take any action?
It's just a consensus, because I think it's important to you. And if there's anything more we can do to emphasize the cooperation.
Our mission as a developer is to strengthen and enhance the communities that we operate in. And anything that strengthens this community, enhances the quality of life for this community, we would be very, very supportive of. And obviously the beach is a very large component of what enhances the quality of life for this community. And I would absolutely be in support of anything you would do.
Thank you. I'm asking for the support from this commission.
I don't think there's anything to, I don't think anyone sitting up here has done anything but, I mean, that's
Yes, I support reopening our pool and.
the $6 million. I mean, he's asking about the $6 million, which comes up quite often, so.
And I'm hoping that the additional federal money that's coming in, the range of 16 million, can be used to the greater good of Lake Worth Beach.
Absolutely.
You will be a part of. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
I did want to ask William if how many the TDRs are left. Have we used all of them up, or any of them?
Oh, no, we have over 1 million square feet of transfer development right in our bank. We have utilized maybe 65,000 square feet that's been requested among the Bohemian, the Deco Green project, 3300 Boutwell Road, which you've not heard yet. You haven't heard from Deco Green either. And then also the proposal from this one. So when we're done among those 4 projects, we'll still have about 900,000 square feet in the TDR bank.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lee, I think you were next.
And may I make one other edification a little bit on Mr. Commissioner Robinson's comment? There is a unquantifiable monetary value associated with getting the hotel open, in a sense. And I think all of you can appreciate that, at least since I've been here, the question I get asked almost every day is, when is the Gulfstream Hotel going to open? And it's such a idyllic symbol of the city's future and its past, and is held so dear by the residents. you can't put a dollar figure on how much of a boost to the morale and the importance of the city and its reputation to have that building reopened after being closed almost 15 years. And so the citizens love that building. I've heard about it and all of you have too. And so to see it being productive and active and sustainable for the long term is going to be invaluable and important. And many people who would like to invest in the city want to see that done. So that will encourage them to invest in the city. So there will be an exponential effect in the city once the hotel is underway. I believe very strongly that will be additional investment in downtown, especially in the businesses that are downtown. We already had a little bit of a surge when the previous project came along, and unfortunately it didn't happen. I do think that this project will happen and there will be a significant increase in the investment interest in the downtown area and surrounding neighborhoods.
My point.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Waters. Commissioner Maliga.
Well, Mr. Waters just took half of my speech, so thanks,
Yeah,
Leah.
right.
Sorry.
So
Well done.
I want the community to understand that when we talk about golf course packages, this equates to dollars that are being spent in our city. When we talk about public beach amenities, this equates to more dollars that are being spent in supporting the businesses that have paid rent and utilities for years that have contributed to our economy. So it isn't quantifiable, but it is, because that $1 will trickle down 7 to 10-fold in our community, which is important. But I also think it's more important that we lift up the morale of our city.
Mhm.
And it's time to know that, okay, in the last 16 years, this building hasn't made us any money, hasn't contributed to society, hasn't.
And nothing.
And if we need to continue that has not for a couple of years to move forward to the next 20, 30, 40 years in the future of Lake Worth Beach, that is what I feel is important. That we don't need to look at, we're not writing checks.
Right.
We're just saying, you know what, we haven't collected that check and we're not going to collect it for a while. And it's okay because we know what the big picture is and we're going to move the needle.
We are
So-
going to write a couple checks, but
Well,
well worth it. Well worth
but
it.
those are for infrastructure and things that we need to spend money on anyway.
Anyway.
You know, we're not writing a check to help them, you know, with their marble floors. So it's things that we are, you know, we're going to benefit from and the residents are going to benefit from. And when I see things like Bryant Park improvements, I write win, win, win. You know, it's a win for everybody. It's a win for the community. It's a win for the city. And when I see things like parking and redoing our parking from angled to straightforward parking, we're going to pick up parking spots. That's a win. You know, those are all good things. And I'm happy that we're having this great conversation. I will say that, yes, I am all for $6 million plus being spent at the beachfront. We all know that. But that's not what we're here to talk about right now. But yes, that is my commitment.
Thank you.
Commissioner McVoy.
Well, I feel like somebody invited the Grinch, and I don't like necessarily to be in that position. However, I do think it's very important for the public to be aware and thinking about this whole thing. I think we've been a little bit quick to kind of lump and not tease out some things that are important. William talked about, and we've all talked here about the feeling in the community to restore an existing historic building. Absolutely correct that the whole community, including all of the commission, all the previous commissions, probably all future commissions, I can speak for them too, all would like to see that historic building renovated. No question. However, what we've done is we've taken a whole city block that is maybe a third of it, ballpark, is the historic building that there's total agreement on. And then there's quite a big chunk that would be a brand new development. That is something that the community is, and that's in our downtown. And that the community has very strong feelings about how new development happens in our downtown. And unfortunately, we've lumped those two things under one label. Are you for the Gulfstream? That, I think, has distorted our thinking a lot. Of course, I'm for restoring the historic building, no question. Am I for, if you were to cut off the Gulfstream and move it somewhere else, and then say, are you for development, let's call it St. Louis Rises? We'll give it that name for the new part of it. That you're going to get very mixed responses on. Is that development viewed as just that new development, something that everybody is excited about, in favor of in its current design? That would not particularly separate it out from the Gulfstream. But what we've done is we've hitched those two things. So it puts all of us in a very bad position that there's only one name. Are you for or against the Gulfstream? Well, I'm for the historic renovation. I don't know that we're in favor of the proposed new part. So what I will be looking for, and this we talked about in our individual meetings, and I hope clearly, I will be looking to see, do you have any flexibility to look into the variations, possible alternative designs, things that might get you to where I believe you want to be, from what I've understood from both of you and now from all three, is you want to be in a position that if we give a separate name, I don't know if you like St. Louis Rising, I came up with it on the spot, I don't know how good it is,
We're
but
Lake Worth residents, so I don't know, call it Lake Worth Rising.
okay, we'll call it Lake Worth Rising. If we give separate names to the restoration, we'll call that the Gulfstream, because that's the Gulfstream, and some other name to the other part. I think your objective is that you want large scale enthusiasm for both things. Am I reasonably accurate on that? I think so, that you want to community approval for both. I don't think we're there yet on the new portion. I think there's ideas floating around. There've been some proposals. I don't know whether you've seen them or not. We have seen them. We've reached out to make it possible for you to see them. I would like to be in the position where we're in the same place, that we have a design for the new part that everybody in the community, well, everybody's unreal, but you know, a decent majority all say, wow, that is a cool addition. That is a cool supplement to the historic restoration. And we love the whole package. When we label it as, are you for or against the Gulfstream? We're losing a very big chunk of our thinking as a community. And I want you to be in that position where everybody likes the whole package of what you're doing. I think you can get there. I don't think you're there that yet, from what I hear.
May I make a few points
Sure.
in response to
I mean,
that?
got at the mayor probably, but
Please do.
So,
Do you want a light?
yeah, we can give you a like,
Yeah, we'll give you Commissioner McVoy's light.
it's up for, it's on auction. I think you could get a good price.
Pretty cheap.
So what we're trying to achieve is to rebuild a community asset that we believe has a very prominent and important place in the psyche of this community. It's not the first time we've done a project like this. We just completed a project where a hotel right in the heart of this community had been silent and dark for 45 years. It just came back to life. So we totally understand why this is so important. It also needs to be a project that we can operate successfully for a long, long time. Because once we come into your community, we're not your typical developer who gets a bunch of development fees and leaves, and you have a third-party operator from Boston or someplace like that that's operating this hotel in a way to make it the most money for the shareholders that own the hotel. That's just not who we are. So we have to have a project that has the greatest likelihood of success, that can be operated successfully and be a community asset for a long, long time. In order to have that, the historic structure alone is not sufficient.
I understand all those things.
We have to have certain other amenities and meeting rooms and ballrooms, and there's a lot of a spa, a full service spa, etc., that are a prerequisite for the kind of product that we want to build for this community. That's what's in a lot of those amenities are in the new building.
Yeah, I understand.
Including parking, because unfortunately, no matter what Uber and Lyft would like us to do with our cars, which is get rid of them and only use them, Americans have so far not, done that. They may use Uber. I use Uber, but I still have a lot of cars, right? So Americans are still using a lot of cars, and those cars have to be parked somewhere,
right?
And it has to be easy for them to get to the amenities in this building. And when it comes to the design itself, remember what you have here is a conceptual design. If we have your support, we can then commit an additional 700,000 or 800,000. We've already spent about 700,000 on this project. We can commit an additional 700,000 or 800,000 to start to refine that design, work with William, work with our architects, Amy's in-house architectural team, and come up with a project that we can all be proud of. But there are certain things that have to be in that building that we need. Way the building looks, sure, there are opportunities for improvement, there's opportunities for value engineering. Right now, the cost of that building, the entire project, is a little higher than we would like it to be. So the amount of money that we have to borrow is higher than we'd like to borrow. The return on investment is very, very small. And luckily, we have a joint venture partner here who's willing to accept almost a minuscule return on their equity in order to help make this project work.
So you're flexible in your design.
Yeah, I just want
Within
to say
certain-
Right, of course.
the reason.
Absolutely.
We all understand that new is scary, right? And every time you put something new next to a historic project, it's scary. It's scary for all of us, right?
And we've
And
done it
I've
many
done
times
it
and still
so many
scary.
times. It's still scary. And you want to make sure it's right, and you want to make sure that it meets the city's expectation and your
And the National Park
expectations and
Service.
the National Park Service expectation. And there's a lot of hoops to jump through to get where you want it to be. I've had multiple long conversations with William. He's come up with a slew of great ideas. I think, you know, there's a lot of skill on your team. There's a lot of skill on our team. I agree with you that there are things about the renderings that I don't like either. I think, you know, I don't know if William wants to speak up, but you know, he has discussed with me things that we could do that we all agreed, oh, okay, that's way better. Oh, this is better. This is a great idea that we'd like to sit down and put into practice. Right now, we need to be able to move forward, and, you know, we just need.
We need
guys to
your
say-
commitment in order to make the full commitment to that process.
I understand that, but you have to recognize also that when if you were to add up, which I tried to get our staff to do with only moderate success, you're asking us to make a very substantial financial commitment in various forms. Some of it is in lieu of future taxes, some of it is money up front. It's a range of things. That's a big ask from us. That, in my mind, is not the biggest ask that I'm hearing from this community. The ask that I'm hearing from this community is, please, with your new part of the building, make sure that you're wide open in terms of who's going to help with the design. Don't necessarily lock in to one approach. Do something because, as you said, that we can all be proud of. That's not a decision that you can make that we can all be proud of. That we can all be proud of has to come out of the community that everybody looks at and goes, boom, that's great.
You're never gonna get everybody in our.
Yeah, really,
agree on it.
Chris,
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
understand
everybody.
that.
You can't
Everybody who's-
redesign because of 15 people who
Really?
have a problem.
I recognize that.
I don't think you
However,
What
do.
are we talking about?
because this is our chance to give you a chance to get to that point where you want to be. You want people to look at the design and say, gosh, wow.
Absolutely. And of course, let's keep one thing in mind, not to minimize anything. But the city's entire commitment to this project is less than the inflation we've had over the last year in construction
Right.
for this project.
And that's
So,
one measure,
Keep that in mind.
but in
However,
terms
We
of,
can't just keep
there are
going back and
certain
forth.
things that we have to have in order to create a successful project. Those amenities that we have to have in order to create a long-term sustainable project require us to have a building of a certain size. So, yes, absolutely, we would love to have a building that everyone in the city of Lake Worth Beach
Good luck.
loves. Well, no,
And I
beauty's in
don't-
the eye of the beholder. And there's going to be certain people who don't like the direction we go, no matter what happens. But we would like the vast majority of Lakewood Beach residents to love the design that we come up with and to love what this building does for the community long term.
Thank you. Commissioner Maliga?
So
See you in flight.
with that being said, I'm sorry.
We're at 5 o'clock now.
I
We're-
think Commissioner Stokes was first.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance yet. So I just wanted to say, like, we are very enthusiastic about you as a company, as people, this whole project, the morale that this is gonna bring to our city, everything. Which is why we are willing to commit. I'm very uncomfortable committing a lot of public money and things like that to projects because we have so many needs for our entire city. But I'm okay with everything that we're willing to commit here on the paper. A little nervous about, I don't want the Bryant Park improvements to explode, and I get nervous when we start talking ARPA money because we haven't even started thinking about ARPA money. We know how hard other areas of our community have been hit, and that money is intended to help the people who've been hit by the pandemic.
I
So,
think they're talking about county money, not our
right,
money.
or somebody mentioned that earlier. We have $60 million of ARPA money coming here. We do, but I just want to be very clear with our partnership moving forward, that I'm comfortable with everything that we have here. Any other future commitments that have been alluded to, I wouldn't count on. And I'm sure you know that as well. And we've talked, and I know that we're on the same page with other issues that we have in this city. And I know that you understand that. And I know you're not going to try to bleed us dry. And you're going to want us to do good throughout the whole city, and you're going to be great partners for us. And I'm excited about this. I'm excited that we've already shown some good working together. We were concerned a little bit about, there was like a docking thing that was put in there that was taken out. We've gotten the beach chairs to a point where we're all comfortable, and we know that our beachfront is sacred to us. So I have faith that as we go through this design process, that you're going to continue working with us, and within the constraints that you need for your project, are going to try to build the best second building that you can for the city. We've also talked about parking, and I know you're willing to possibly lease spaces to neighboring communities that might want to take advantage of the additional parking that's available as we also increase our parking along Bryant Park. So I've been pretty pleased with all the concerns that I brought up in our one-on-ones and how they've been addressed. And so if that continues moving forward, I'm sure the final design will be beautiful.
Thank you. Commissioner Robinson.
I'm ready to take the next step. That's all. And we're not going to redesign the building to 100% satisfaction. If we get 51%.
And fine.
And I'm committed to working with William hand in hand. Like, he's gonna get so sick of me, because I'm gonna keep going back to him and going,
Potato,
what do you think of this?
potato.
What do you think of this? In order to make sure that it meets what you guys would like.
We have $20. You'll get sick of William first.
Commissioner Maliga.
With that being said, as a business owner in this town, I understand where your breaking price point is. And I get that, the business aspect of it. When I came here in 2009 to open a gym, a lot of people said, are you crazy, for doing that in North? There's a bar on every corner. But at the same time, when people come in and say, well, I can go to Planet Fitness for $10 a month, I always say to them, go to Planet Fitness. You have to do what's best for your business model, but also take into consideration that you are investing in this city. With that being said, I have full confidence that you will not ignore, have open ears, that you will listen to the community in reason, right, of the designs and what we expect. I know that my message got to you in regards to what I thought the design looked like, and I won't say it on camera, but I just, I want you to take, we do have great architects in the city. You and I spoke about Ann Fairfax. She's a world-renowned architect, but you have to know where the boundaries are. And you guys have a great team. You've done this a million times. I have full confidence in the fact that you will continue to include the residents and the business owners and us up here as your voice of reason, and know that you're not going to get 100% satisfaction. And I completely understand that. And I know that you can never marry the new building or separate the marriage of the new and the versus the old, because it is going to be one, and it's going to be the shining diamond of Palm Beach County. I'm very confident in that. And I look forward to working with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I get.
And remember, it's not just during the design phase. We have a business model that includes the community during our operations as well.
Yeah, you and I spoke about the vendors list. You're going to be reaching out to local vendors, local farmers.
The working.
I mean,
people.
they've talked about putting together an employee bonus program. If you've been here for a year and you live in the city of Lake Worth Beach, you get a bonus. So, I mean, I see that you're going to be a great partner for the city, for the county and for the state.
Thank you. I just want to sort of mirror what a lot of the people have said. You've shown really good faith. To get someone as committed as you are to this project, obviously they're not knocking down our door. I am excited to have the whole project, the historic plus the new, because we need that venue space. We need all that space. I've been in small business for 22 years on Lake Avenue. And so I watched the ebb and flow of foot traffic, and we've got, I went with a group last night, feet on the street. We need feet on the street. And your folks are going to bring feet on the street for us. The design, I trust that we'll work on the design. But I want to welcome you and thank you for your interest and for putting up with us a little bit. It is the crowning jewel. I mean, it is the thing that when I look at Travel Magazine, I want to say, go to the Gulfstream Hotel. Travel and leisure, highlight Lake Worth. Now we'll have something to actually focus that on. And I very much appreciate that. Thank you. And with that, I think do I need a motion to adjourn?
It was a meeting.
That was amazing.
All right, goodbye.
Work session. That was-
6 o'clock. We have another one at 6 o'clock and we've got dinner in the
Thank you,
middle.
Mayor and Commissioners. We do have your
Yep.
interim
Yep.
lunch.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a good trip
Right,
back.
I have a question.